Coming in hot, 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 Lisa shares her financial tips and strategies to build wealth, have fun with finances, and be debt-free without having a restrictive budget. From bankrupt to millionaire, Lisa knows what it's like to feel as if you're living paycheck to paycheck. Her unconventional money multiplier system is the very wealth protocol that enabled her to retire 2.5 years early, pay down $100,000 of debt in 6 months, and move to her dream home at the beach. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to rate the show, give us some love. We would love your review. And remember, it doesn't matter how much money you make, it's what you do with it. And some words of advice: pay yourself first. Are you ready to partner with money? Go check out the money dating game at idatemoney.com and choose your partner. We hope you always get the date you want. Hey, welcome everyone. Looks like we're live. I'm just going to double check the feed. You know me in tech because this has got a line here and I'm not really sure if we're live or not, but welcome. Today we are hosting a visionary panel of expert life coaches. They are in the house. I'm your hostess, Lisa Drennan. I am a wealth activator and the host of the podcast, I Date Money. If you haven't tuned in, you go to Apple, I Date Money, and listen for financial tips and strategies to expand your empire, to make more money, to keep more money that you make. So today we're going to be, picking the brains of these life coaches because, coaches are so important in our life. For me, I've been in therapy since, like 1986, right? And every year I've had some kind of a mentor or a therapist or counselor who's helped me get to the next level. But in August of 20, I decided that I was going to try the coach route. And I love coaches. I love the way that they think. They give you that bird's eye view. And, when I worked with a life coach, it was one of the first people that I had worked with. It really helped me to get the right questions given to me, presented to me, so that I can figure out why I was in my own way. Because, hello, who's in their own way out there? So thank you, ladies, for joining us. Just go around. We're going to start with you, Joe. Tell us what you do. Give us your elevator pitch.
Hello, Lisa. So happy to be on this unicorn community. I am the unicorn coach. And what I do is, as a unicorn, I help working mom type A personalities to remember that they are not regular horses, that they are freaking unicorns, and that they actually can have it all without doing it all. So they don't burn out and they live life on their terms, having and enjoying for them and their families what really matters for them.
I love that. And we're broadcasting into the Real Unicorns group here. So unicorns, raise your horn.
Yeah.
Love that. All righty, Christina.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Lisa, and hosting this. This is always such a huge benefit to everybody. So I just wanted to give a big kudos to you. So my name is Christina Morelli. I am a conflict resolution coach, and I work with couples in relationships and communication skills. I help people turn their conflict into connection and help them live and have the love of their life and the relationship of their dreams.
I love that. Relationship of your dreams. Those of you listening out there, you want a relationship coach, Christina is your girl, the life coach that focuses on relationships. I love that. Jessica, so good to see you.
Yeah, so excited to be here again. Thank you so much for having me. It sounds like we have a really bold, strong group of women here today. My name is Jessica Marie. I am a life coach for entrepreneurs and business coaches, helping them really tap into their own inner leader. I really believe that we have to tap into that inner leader archetype in order to have a strong brand presence and really listen to our heart's desire and create something that feels massively ready for impact. So thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, I love that. You each have, your own uniqueness that you bring to the table, and I absolutely love that. And for those of you listening live or watching live, or even if you're watching the replay, if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. We'll try to get to them, and if we don't get to them live here, we'll answer them later because the coaches will be active in the group, communicating with you if you have, want to connect further. So our first question is, what are the most common obstacles clients face when striving to achieve their goals, and how do you help them overcome these challenges? Let's start with you, Jessica.
This is a really good question. And I feel like the most common obstacles my clients face when it comes to their goals is fear. You know, a lot of the times we don't know how to relate to our fear in a different way. So we pigeonhole ourselves. We don't think that there's anything else available for us. So we just kind of keep this hamster wheel going, if you will. And so the way that I help them relate differently to their fear is really looking at the root cause of that fear or childhood trauma or dysregulated nervous system, if you will, and help them get unstuck and really allow them to see another possibility.
Thank you. I love that. Seeing all the possibilities. So many of us have blind spots, and like allowing someone else to say, "Hey, that's a blind spot. Let's work on that for you." Joe.
Okay, so for the woman that work with me and that I see over and over again is the limiting belief that they need to compromise. So very, very similar to what Jessica was saying, is that fear of I'm going to achieve this goal, but in the back of their mind is always working into what I have to compromise, what I have to give up. So that is what hold them back, because at the end, sometimes they are so afraid of what they think that they need to compromise that paralyzes them into taking action to get the goals that their conscious mind wants, but their subconscious mind is like, I'm not willing to take this risk and compromise this. So part of what I do with them is getting a real clear path, understanding their own archetypes and their stronger archetypes, what really means having it all for them, and then start understanding what are those subconscious patterns that make them believe, especially growing up in the first 7 years, that is not possible, that they need to compromise. Where were those role models and stories that they learned from, where they saw a mom, a woman compromising one thing for the other one, and then start deconstructing that and putting, I call it the dead fish on the table. When we see the dead fish on the table, then we can say, yeah, it's stinky, and actually I don't need that dead fish on the table. I can put it in the trash. So it's getting that process to then start having that path of building that confidence of, I actually can have it all. Not what society means having it all, what having it all means for me, for my archetypes, for my personality, without compromising.
Yeah, and that's so true. I know. My kids are all adults now, but when my kids were little, it was like I was always putting them first and allowing myself not to have any me time and compromising and giving up. And like I was raised that, oh no, your kids are first. You don't do anything until you take care of your family, and you don't even know what me time was. Used to think it was selfish. So I love that focus on that. Christina.
Yeah, no, this is such a good question. And it's actually very similar to what both Jessica and Joe were saying around emotional regulation and checking in with beliefs and patterns from a general broad stroke. But I really believe that one of the biggest issues that a lot of my clients have, whether they're single or couples, is the fact that we were never really taught how to have relationships or how to actually communicate effectively in productive manners and ways. What we know about communication and how to interact with other people, whether they're friends, family, or romantic partners, is what often is modeled for us in our home. So those traits carry over our entire life until finally we're like, this isn't working. I need to find a new way. So the biggest obstacle is really unlearning everything that this media has told you, everything your family has told you, and then actually having new practices to put in place. Like if we're going to deconstruct a system, I need to provide you a new system. So it's really the deconstruction of that system and then providing a new structure for them to actually build their relationship and life off of.
Yeah, and that's got to be the most challenging is deconstructing. I know when I'm working with clients with their finances, when we deconstruct, they're like, they're so scary. No, don't take familiar stuff away from me.
Uncomfortable.
But that's what gets us to the next level and helps us to see. So I love that. All righty. Now, what advice would you offer to aspiring life coaches who aim to make a meaningful impact in the lives of their clients? We'll start with you, Joe.
I will say work on your software before your hard work. And that is when we are starting the coaching life, we get a lot of these of you need to figure out your marketing and your website and your business cards and all of that. I call hard work. That the reality, what I'm missing is if you don't work in your software, in your belief, in your worthiness, in how you feel that I know Lisa is very good at this, your relationship with money and how you feel comfortable asking for money and seeing it as an exchange, then it doesn't matter how much your hardware is going to be perfect, you are going to be very slow into getting the achievements. And the other one that is very common is it is okay to help people while you have a financial freedom result as well. So because I see a lot of life coaches that are like, oh no, I just want to help people. So then they end not charging or bartending or doing some other things. So my first advice is if you want to be a life coach, is because you probably have a very strong nurturing energy that you want to help, that you want to support, that you want to make people happy. And then from that, go back and check your software. What are some of those beliefs that you have around money, around business, around working hard, around worthiness? Because if you work on that first and you are able, with support from people like Lisa and Christine and Jessica and me, able to adjust that, then I promise you the business is going to take off, even if you don't have a website, even if you don't have Kajabi, even if you don't have all the hardware things, because it's the alignment that you have into what you are doing.
Yeah. Perfect alignment. I love that. You know, when it's alignment, you feel it and you want to go for it. Thank you. Christina.
Yeah, there's so much that I would say. I would say the biggest thing is expect to be scared most of the time, all of the time, for a while, and to do it anyways. Because anytime we are learning something new and we are stretching our brain and it's elasticity, things become hard. It requires so much more energy. You don't know if it's going to work, but you need to do it anyways. And I would say that that's probably my biggest advice is like, do it regardless of being scared. And, and it doesn't mean like you don't have to, being scared doesn't mean you're not in alignment, in my opinion. I think being scared means that you are in alignment. You're going for something that is so deeply meaningful to you that you have such a strong investment in it, that if it fails, that's like going to be really painful, right? And one, you're not going to fail because that's just part of life coaching. And that journey, there's always going to be something. But along that, you will inevitably succeed if you are consistent enough. I would say that's another thing. Do it, even if you're afraid, because you will be. There's never a point that you won't be, especially if you're expanding, right? Expansion is scary. There's a lot of pressure that we feel. It's uncomfortable. But when you break through, it's incredible, it's beautiful, it's expansive, and then you will still always have another level that you're trying to expand and push into. So be comfortable with the comfortable. Definitely niche down as much as possible, not only for a client perspective, but honestly, speaking from personal experience, niching down really helped me with my content creation, with my messaging, because I had a very clear direction in what I wanted to talk about versus just general relationship stuff. So it really helped me, which provided a lot of clarity in my experience, which also made it a lot easier to create programs, to create, like I said, content, to talk to my clients about specific things. So niching down was really useful for my own mental well-being when it came to what I was producing. And I think the last thing I want to say is just be patient and have grace with yourself, because if this is brand new to you and you don't have experience in the online digital world with marketing, assuming you're going to be an online digital coach, it's kind of a circus out there. So it's intense, and to just like have a lot of grace for yourself and patience for yourself, because if you don't, you will burn yourself out. And I just think that we need to take care of ourselves first in order to take care of our clients. So making sure you're doing what you need to do to take care of yourself as well.
Yeah, thank you. I love that answer. and really having that that flow, knowing, and I want to stress that niching down, because I know a lot of coaches come to me, and when we start to work on their finances and we look at their signature offer to optimize it, they have no idea who they're serving. I'm like, you can't serve everyone. Oh, but I want to help everyone. No, stop. Just choose somebody, please. Just one person. Work on them. Forget everyone else. No one else is listening anyways. So
Exactly.
thank you for that. That was a very good point. Jessica.
Yeah, this is a really good question. And what Joe and Christina said, just so permeant to like the inner work that gets to happen. Like to me, entrepreneurship is literally like the biggest self-development, healing, spiritual journey you will ever embark on that you didn't sign up for, but this is where you're at and what's going to happen, especially being your own personal brand. So I want to start on that piece because if we are so focused on the external, right, with what what Joe was saying about the hardware, right, I need the website, I need the funnel, I need the strategy. Well, to be transparent, it's never going to work if you don't know who you are, and it's not going to work if you don't know what you want. In my past experience, when I first started coaching, I paid so much money for other coaches. Like, here's all the stuff, here's all the steps, here's all the strategy. And then I would blame myself because I thought I was broken. I thought I was damaged. I thought I wasn't cut out for this online world. But truth be told, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my voice. I didn't know my messaging. I didn't know my ideal client. And so really spending a lot of time getting really clear on yourself, like I like to say, the inner leader, tap into that archetype, because if you get to know who you are, do all the healing work. I wouldn't say all, but doing what is preventing you from getting clarity, the limited beliefs, the relation to the fear, the trauma, the nervous system dysregulation, right? All of that. And if you really start to work on that, you're going to get really more clear on who you are, your voice. And I know Christina said this too. It's a zoo out there. I don't like the word saturation, but lack of a better term, a lot of people are doing what you want to do. So you need to get clear on who you are so people can be magnetized to you and your voice. And once you get that clear, then all the hardware, then all of the strategy will make sense, because you're like, oh, I'm going to pick this. This works for me, this, that, and the other. And things can start to feel more at ease, and you can have systems and structures and then scale yourself. And something else I want to share too is when you mentioned specifically like making impact in their clients' lives, ultimately you are a walking embodiment of your work. So if you're not in integrity with what you're preaching, if you're not in integrity with your own teachings, then people are going to feel that energetic disconnect, and really looking at, again, how much it is important for you to really be striving for the success and striving for the person that you want to become and that your clients can be reflected of. So I really think everything is really interwoven together, but at the end of the day, it's about you first. And if you really get honed in on your voice and your purpose, your message that you're trying to convey, everything else is going to fall into place.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree. Tuning into that and knowing, sharing results that you have, doing your own program. That's what works best. Everyone else is taken, so just be yourself, right?
Exactly.
Love that.
Pointing that out. Yeah. Oh, the mask that we hide behind sometimes because we're just trying to follow a template. And I don't know about you, but I can't wear a hat. I did a post last couple weeks ago about a hat, and I did not wear the hat because I don't like hats. My husband did come up with another hat. He insisted I wear hats, but every time I think about, like when you put on a hat, I'm not the same person. I feel differently. And it's the same with our online journey. Like if you try to fit yourself in a mold, and you're not authentically showing up as yourself, as Jessica says, it comes out in the vibes, right? Thank you for sharing that. So our next question, how do you navigate the balance between providing guidance to clients and empowering them to discover their own paths? We'll start with you, Jessica.
Such a good question. I think that it's a dance because, of course, as the seer, right, as the coach, like people are hiring you for them to see your blind spots. And also it is something really important where it is an opportunity for, your client to see the truth. And, I think all of us have been in a situation where someone shared something with us and we're like, that's not right. That's not true. Or I don't want to take that in. Right. But you have to discover it yourself, and so I really love to use specific verbiage and questions to help them reflect. Like, you shared this with me, so I'm making an assumption this means that. How does that feel for you? And so I try to be very mindful of my language, and also, again, helping them kind of see their root. And sometimes at the end of the session, I'm like, I don't think they're ready to hear that yet. And that's okay, because it's not about me, it's about them. And I think, like, as a coach, it's something that takes practice. It's something to learn as you go. So it's okay if you mess up and like share things with your clients, but just be mindful of the body language, be mindful of the sensory acuity, and really how your clients are receiving, how you're speaking to them. But I think the best practice would just be to like give them opportunities for, like, ask them questions, have them come to their own conclusion. You might know, which is great that but just ask them the right questions for them to make their own assumptions. And then you guys can play with that and talk around that. So that's kind of how I really work with my clients, is just reflecting, okay, you shared this. Is that true? This is what you said in your own words. So then they're like, oh, light bulb moment.
Yeah, and that is so true. Like, and as coaches, we all want to, like, we know the answer, just give it to them. But we all know that if we do that, they're not going to do anything with it, right? I mean, we can give our programs away for free, but people won't do anything with it because they need that accountability. They need that reflection. They need that. They won't ever, without a coach, you never get to the next layer. And once you get to the next layer, there's so many more layers to peel back. We got to think about it, especially like, it doesn't even matter how old you are. It's just all of the experience and all the things that you take in on an everyday basis really impacts us and stays within our subconscious. So to start to unbury that and understand, like, oh, this is where I fit into the world. So yeah, awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Joe.
I actually love what you said, and I will share something that changed on my practice early on to now. And it is because I came from corporate America, so there was a lot into like, we do it, we fix it, and it's done. So the first couple of years in my practice, I was under the impression, and my goal was like, hey, if you hire me and you need me for more than the time that we set, then I fail as a coach, because my goal is giving you all the tools for you to achieve what you want. And then that started transforming into what you were saying, into, yes, I still believe that my job as a coach is not giving you the fish, but teaching you how to fish. And I also know that new level, old devil. And that means that, yeah, I help you with this, but then as you move to the next step, you also need the support. I actually am a firm believer that we all need a coach all the time, because no matter how much we grow, we are starting a new territory. So I just want to share that into like, it's a long-term relationship, and how I navigate between providing guidance and empowering them to discover their own paths. For me, it's been game changer to work with archetypes, because then I am very aware of my own archetypes and my own tendencies, and where I receive information better, in what way, but also knowing that my clients are a different archetype and are a different tendency, allow me to change the way that I present things. There are some clients that I'm a lot more direct, because I know that is how they receive and process. I know that there are clients that if I tell them white, they're going to do black. So then I do a little bit more of what Jessica was saying, into what color do you think that will work best for you? And I think that is a matter of us as coaches, and having a coach that is very committed to your success. One of the things I told my clients is, your success is my success. And because of that, there is no room for ego. There is no room for me to be like, I have a big problem sometimes when I see some coaches that are like, oh yeah, I was the savior and my client completely transformed their life just because I am super amazing and everything was me. I really believe that is a relationship, it's a teamwork. I can be the best coach in the world, that if my client is not willing to work with me, the results are not going to happen. And I think that when you see it as a partnership like that, in that commitment of walking to the same result, driving to the same goal that the person hired you to achieve, then you are able to build a relationship with, like Jessica was saying, it's more like a dance where you know that sometimes you are leading, sometimes you are letting them lead, sometimes neither of you is leading, and sometimes you both are in the top of the table just rocking it. That is that connection, that relationship that is beyond the I'm right or this is what I think that you need to do. That some coaches do.
Yeah, and I love that. And understanding how we all think and process things so differently. We're different learners. And, I can hear things, we hear words and then it's like, what does that mean? And it's like, oh, let me look at it from a different perspective, and then looking at it from all the different ways so that we can understand, like, this is how I'm processing it. Is this what it truly means? So thank you for that. Christina.
Yeah, to piggyback off of both of those, I mean, obviously questions is a great way for people to have self-reflection. And similar to what Joe was saying about archetypes, what I was hearing is like, I work with people's communication styles, essentially. Like, are you a direct communicator? Do you need a more soft approach? But I would say from a balancing perspective, one thing that I do know is some clients come to me. The biggest obstacle is really sorry. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The thing that I know about some of my clients is they come to me and they've already thought about everything. They're like, I've run the gamut. I've been ruminating about this for forever. And now I actually just need some answers. So sometimes the approach of asking questions doesn't necessarily work because they've already asked themselves all the questions. They've looked at it from all the angles, and now they just need an outsider's perspective and a more diverse options, essentially, by asking more people to join in on the conversation. So at that point, I do actually give advice or guidance to them, depending on where they are and the type of person that they are. But I usually ask first. I ask, do you prefer me to give you direct guidance, or do you prefer me to ask you questions for you to come to your own answers? Sometimes there's both. Coaching is very intimate. So we get to know our clients really closely. We get to understand their body language, like you guys were saying. We get to understand their tone and their voice. We get to understand the mood that they're feeling that day and what that means for them and how to approach them in those ways. There are some sessions where it's just a venting session and we actually don't reach a goal other than they feel better, right? And sometimes those sessions are very action oriented. It ultimately depends on what they're needing. So when it comes to balancing it, I ask my clients, what do you need today? Do you need really hyper-focused attention on a specific goal? Do you need to talk through some things? What do you need? And then at that point, I take it from there. And when it also comes to guidance, especially to the point of like, if people aren't ready to hear it, they're not ready to hear it. I completely agree with that. I ask them, like, if I'm going to say something that's going to be difficult for you to hear, are you open to that? And so I've had clients say, no, today's not the day, and I've had most of my clients will say, yes, I know I need to hear it. But especially when it comes to clients who just like have a hard time being honest with themselves, you can't make progress if you're not honest with yourself. And that is one thing that I will say I offer to my clients is like, I'm no BS. Like, don't come to me if you want me to support the BS that you're telling yourself in that regards, so I think if you are looking for a coach, you need to be really, really ready to look at yourself and be willing to hear the hard feedback. But yeah, balancing it is a balance between questions, asking them questions for self-discovery, and then also providing guidance when they're like, I literally can't think of anything else. Can you give me an example? And I'm like, yes, let's talk about examples of what that looks like. What resonates with you the most of these examples? So that would be my advice on balancing between guidance and having them have their own self-reflection.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, asking good questions, right? Asking the questions that will get to that next layer to eventually get to the root cause. And then even when you get to the root cause, you see those roots have spirals like in there, they're interwoven. They go to all different levels of the heart.
Totally.
So, alrighty, our last question for the day. What strategies or techniques do you use to overcome resistance or skepticism from clients? I love this question. Let's start with you, Christina.
Well, one thing that I tell my clients is that I only work with people who are excited, able, and willing. And I feel like that, like, so my business is deeply rooted in ethical sales and business. So I really try hard not to make anybody feel like I'm trying to convince them to do something that maybe they're not ready to do. I also came from a corporate background where sales is very unethical, in my opinion, and non-consensual in a lot of ways. So for me, skepticism, I ask them, are you comfortable having the conversation about why you are hesitant to move forward today? And if they say yes, then I ask them questions. And I say, this is actually a short coaching opportunity, honestly, because you get to understand where you are maybe not ready to take these next steps, or if you have certain money resilience issues, or if you are not as resourceful, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying those exact words, but essentially it's like, let's show you how you can be more resourceful. Let's see what's blocking you from making this decision. You talked to me today for a reason. So what is keeping you now from wanting to take that next step? And let's do that discovery work. And if you still aren't ready to take that next step, totally fine. I'm always here to support you. But ultimately, in the end, when it comes to skepticism, I just ask them, like, what are you comfortable having the conversation about it? And if they say yes, let me dive into this and we're going to do a little bit of coaching. What's going on? What's your reservation? Is it money? If it's money, let's talk about your money situation. Are you comfortable with that? For me, it's consent the whole way. And I feel like that really puts people at ease throughout the process, because they don't feel like I'm like going to manipulate a certain question or back them into a corner or some, because I know from my experience, I hated that. I have reached out to many coaches, and one didn't understand that the discovery call was not, well, this is also the beginning of me discovering coaching. Not understanding that discovery calls were actually sales calls. And so it was just, I wanted to do it different. And for me, doing it different was like, you are going to be completely aware of every step that we're taking. I will get your permission every step of the way that we are taking. And unless you are excited, able, and willing to move forward with me, we're not going to work together until you're ready. And if you're really, really ready, then we're going to do it. Because you know what? If you're not going to do the work that you need to do. And I don't want to waste my time or your resources in that regards.
Yeah, and it's so important to have that stance, because when you accept clients just for the fact that you want their money, please don't do that, because it's never going to work out. It's going to be the worst experience. My coach Nicole calls them hyena clients. We don't want those. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. Having an online coaching business is not a walk in the park. So you definitely want to work with clients that are ready and willing to do the work and accept responsibility for doing the work. Because I know a lot of people will come to me and they're like, well, that coach didn't do what they said. No, you didn't do the work that your coach asked you to do. That's what really happened. So just putting that out there.
I want to say one thing in regards to that real quick is like doing your coaching sessions, for me, that's my flow state, right? So if doing a coaching session is difficult and a struggle, I don't want it. There's enough already, like you said, about online business that is a struggle, and there's a lot of resistance. The thing I don't want is resistance and a struggle with my client. That is my flow space. That is where I thrive, is in my coaching sessions. So choosing wisely who your clients are is a really important part of that. And in dating also, like, be more concerned about if this applies, I feel like, to coaching client situations. And instead of worrying about if they like you, be more worried about if you like them. So I think that would be a nice way to view how to approach clients and skepticism.
Yeah, I heard that the other day. Like, when you walk into a room, don't wonder if they like you. Wonder if you like them. So anytime I hear something more than once, especially if it's 3 times, it's like, oh, I have to pay attention. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Jessica.
Yeah, this is a really good question, and really echoing what Christina said, because I really fully align with everything that she shared. And it's really like that root of really acknowledging, this is also an interview process for you too. And I think a lot of the time, especially new coaches, and I will also I've had lived experience of this where I'd be nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I have to ask the right questions, this and that. And I have offered people when I was first starting my coaching business, sure, yeah, let's work together. And exactly what Lisa and Christina have shared, it's it feels so energetically overwhelming and you don't feel like you're in your flow state. And I learned my lesson really quick where I was like, oh, I get this. Now I know. And if you're a new coach and you're I don't really know, it's okay to have dozens of connection calls with people. And really, before you get on those calls, I'd really ask yourself, what are the criteria I'm looking for in this person that I want to bring on? I totally acknowledge abundance versus scarcity mindset. So really check yourself before you get on a call, and really if I could go back in that time, I would have been okay, where am I at energetically? Because if I'm showing up scarcity, of course, I'm going to just try to ask for money and then feel regretful after. And so, but sometimes we need to do that in order to learn. But if I could give advice for people, that would be to really sit on where you're at in your mind. But the second part of this is, how I get on a call with people. I really feel now, coming back to my inner leader, coming back to my voice, I've really strengthened that over the years. So now I know exactly what I want, know exactly my value and what my programs have to offer. So it is an interview process. I'm asking you questions, you're asking me questions. And there are times where I'm this isn't really a good fit. And I think that there's a lot of autonomy on that. And when it comes to certain questions, right, which is usually the big one is money. I don't have money. I don't have this. I don't have that. Right. And I really like to ask some good questions of digging deeper into the money mindset in there and really digging deeper into what this transformation is worth to you. Because when you flip it, it's a lot of the times people don't necessarily, if people are having objections, it's probably because you as the coach may not have fully provided the value, or this person is really in their fear. And so you as a coach need to distinguish where this person's at. And I do think that this is a learned skill. I also think that's a practice of having dozens of calls and really figuring out where this person is and the questions you need to ask them. And so I've really been able to discern where this person's at and really ask the hard questions, because once you detach from the sales call, you really are in your flow state of cool, I just want to get really crystal clear what it is that's blocking you. You need to think about something. Great. What do you need to think about? What can I answer right now on the call that can help you get clarity? And then you start to see, well, it's blah, 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 blah. And I've really, and through this process of practice and learning skills from other sales experts, it's been really helpful to just stay on the call with them until they get really crystal clear. And most of the time, it's not about money. And if you can coach them through in that time, really learning it's really not about the money, it was actually a fear, and coach them through that fear, they're going to have no problem coaching with you. And that's happened to me a few times, right? And it's also given me more confidence, okay, you can poke the bear a little bit, asking consent, of course. Hey, can I ask you a deeper question? Hey, can I get personal with you really quick, type of thing. And that's been really helpful. So that's my process of how I really get discerning of resistance, and also if this is a right fit for me and them.
Yeah, I love that. Asking permission. Just don't blurt things out. I know some of us are impatient, but remembering that. Thank you. Joe, you're up.
So I'm going to go in a different route because we already talked a little bit about the sales part on the initial one. I'm going to talk about what happened when your client is having resistance and resistance. Just going to leave it there in your regular coaching calls. So you are moving to a topic and you are seeing, and resistance can be shown in so different ways. Can be shown as you give some homework and then they have 3 million excuses and they don't do it in the next session. Or you guys discuss something and then they have that I'm not sure about this. And in those times, one of my best advices is go back into compassion. And I think that both Christina and Jessica touch a little bit of this in the sales coaches, but is also in the other part of the coaching is resistance is just a symptom that there is a misalignment based on fear. So if I am coaching and I know that we need that for you to get to your results, these are the best steps, but they are resistance, but they are pushed back, but they are eclecticism. How you say that word? Why that word is being so hard for me today? Anyway, is getting the compassion into with kindness and compassion, saying, oh, instead of trying to push through it, the block is pull back and say, oh, I can see you. I love seeing in those moments, I love to see my clients as little girls. Then I see, oh, I've just seen a little girl, 4 or 5-year-old little girl, is scared about doing this homework, is scared of taking this step, not sure if this is going to work for her. And then with that full love of compassion, a heart of compassion, then I can say, okay, let's gonna walk through this. And one of the things that we were talking in the first question that I also do that Christine said is, do I have your permission to coach you? Or can you take my coaching right now? And then go from there into, I wonder what is going on. This is, and you, Lisa, say this, that I love to say, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm perceiving. It's been maybe 2 sessions and you are not completing what we agree. You are going to work between sessions. What is coming up for you? And I think that is when you move it from, oh, they are just resistant, or they are just not believing, or they are just skeptical about if it's going to work. And you move it into the root cause, like we were talking before, into, oh, this is coming from fear. And usually fear and trauma. So trauma from the past that is showing up. So then is a game changer to just see them with compassion, like little boys, little girls. And then from there, helping them to know and trust and feel confident that this time is different, because that this time they are safe, because that this time they are not alone, because I am with you, next to you, holding your hand in the path. And then that is the best, easiest way to help them to move through the resistance. So instead of seeing it as resistance, a wall that I need to break, I actually see it as a wall that I need to jump over to go into the other side.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you for those visuals too. Breaking the walls, breaking down the barriers. There's thoughts in our mind that keep us from moving forward, from connecting. And when we get to a place where we feel triggered, it's almost like we run away from it. Like, no, I don't want to visit that place. No. And that's exactly when you need to work through it, and get over that hurdle, because you're staying stuck. And when you stay stuck, you're just going to go back and do the same things. And we all know that's the definition of insanity. So thank you so much, ladies, for being here, for sharing your expertise. For those of you watching, this is going to be uploaded over to my YouTube channel, Money Talks. So go on over there, show that channel some love. You can connect with the ladies. I've dropped their links in the comments in the Facebook group, and on the YouTube, it'll be in the show notes. And I highly recommend connecting with all 3 of them. Go pick their brain, go through their funnel, see what they're doing and how they can help you, or maybe you even have a friend that you want to refer. And remember, it doesn't matter how much money you have, it's what you do with it.